What's up, everybody? Dr. Jean-Pierre here again of the Real Paranormal Detectives and Southern California Paranormal Detectives. Just wanted to kind of bring a little story time for Halloween. We weren't able to shoot an episode this month. Life got super busy. We're going to be back at it in November again. We're working on some really cool locations. But in the meantime, I wanted to tell you guys something really cool that happened this month. So it was kind of last minute. Some of my friends had extra tickets, and we ended up going to Queen Mary's Dark Harbor this year. It was actually a really cool event. I had a good time. Funny enough, I posted about it on Facebook last minute. Hey, going to Dark Harbor. And didn't realize I had so many friends that actually worked the event. As soon as I said I was going, I was bombarded with messages and texts and everything that, oh, hey, come visit me. I have lots of stories. We've experienced lots of stuff. And I think everybody knows the Queen Mary is considered to be a very haunted location. So I wasn't too surprised. Just didn't realize I knew so many people that actually worked the event. So one friend in particular who works a particular maze had a ton of stories and seemed like he really wanted to talk to me and told me to visit him that night, which I did. So I'll tell you his experience, and I'll tell you what I felt from the whole experience while I was there. So overall, Dark Harbor I thought was a great experience. At the end of the night, it was kind of a letdown. I'll talk about that later. But overall, I really enjoyed the event and had a good time. Did feel a few things on a few of the mazes inside of the ship. Nothing too major, but definitely strong feelings. So my friend who wanted me to visit him, I went to visit him early in the night. There was a ton of people there, so unfortunately he didn't have time to talk to me. He sent me into the maze. The maze was called Lullaby. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It is based off of the girl who drowned in the swimming pool on the ship. And just my personal opinion. You don't have to take it as, I don't know, the truth, I guess, if you want to say. But I think the way it was done, the entry point and everything, is a little distasteful and disrespectful to the dead. This little girl drowned in the pool, and they had like a coffin and an altar and like a doll inside of the coffin. And then you went through like a tiny coffin, and they play up the whole drowning thing in the maze. And I mean, like I said, it just seems a little distasteful and disrespectful to, the little girl who's passed on. That's just my opinion of that, but we'll get back to my friend's story. So he had a lot of experiences. The biggest thing he told me before I went to the event, he messaged me about, was that all the girls in that maze, in particular, that dress up like a little girl to scare people, are bothered by some sort of spirit. They think it's a little girl because it seems like a child. It seems a little playful, but it creeps most of the girls out. He said there was one girl in particular that she's kind of a sensitive, I guess, empath, something like that, where she's okay with it. She lets the girl follow her and play with her, and even told my friend, who's kind of in charge of that maze, that the little girl likes him a lot because he protects the maze and the ship while he's working there. So that was a positive note. But anyway, after the point where all the girls were complaining to my friend about being bothered by this spirit, he went inside of the maze before the event started and said, hey, don't bother the girls. They're scared of you. Mess with me if you need to mess with someone. He said shortly after that, he was in the maze with his cell phone. It was actually flung about 5 feet out of his hand and completely broke his cell phone. It was, I believe, a couple days before I went to the event, he was actually physically scratched on his hand. He didn't feel like the actual scratch occur, but he definitely noticed, once the skin was actually open, the stinging feeling and, a little bit of blood. So that was definitely interesting. Now, the empath on the ship who works in that maze, as well as myself, we don't think it's the little girl that actually physically did that to him. We believe there's like a portal or vortex, especially in the pool area. This has been confirmed by Peter James when he investigated the ship. But there's probably things that could come in and out, and I'm sure it doesn't help that they're playing up this girl's tragedy, essentially for entertainment purposes. Another story he told me from that particular maze was really interesting. Obviously, for the mazes, they put in props and sets and all kinds of stuff to set up for the scares and all that during the event, and apparently there was a pipe that was installed for that particular maze. My friend who was in charge did not know that, but they had a pipe that was leaking in the maze one night, so they called in maintenance. Maintenance went to the pipe and discovered that it was a prop pipe. It wasn't a physical pipe that was attached to the ship or any kind of water line. So they have no idea why that pipe is leaking. So I thought that was super interesting. That physical ectoplasm that you don't get that often was really cool to hear that story. Definitely interesting stuff going on that ship. I'll talk a little about my personal feelings going into Lullaby. As I said, I personally, on a personal level, think it's a little distasteful and disrespectful to the dead to play up a tragedy that happened. They don't just play it up during this event. They play it up throughout the year, during the ghost tours, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think sometimes you just got to leave the dead alone. Let it be. Let it rest in peace. I think that doesn't help the energy on the ship, especially if there's like a portal or vortex nearby, and that could create more negative energy that could potentially draw in things that would break your phone and scratch you and things like that. I mean, at least there's potential for that. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Like I said, there was a coffin, an altar, a fake little doll, the little girl in the coffin, and then you walk through a tiny coffin to go into the maze itself, and then they play up the whole drowning thing as well throughout the maze. So, yeah, I think the little girl is just upset that they keep using her in that way. So I think it's really interesting, everything I discovered and found out through my friends that work there. Definitely a lot of stories, the biggest coming from Lullaby. The rest of the ship, there's all kinds of stories that the characters that work there see shadow figures, get messed with and bothered depending what part of the ship they're on. So it was really interesting. I definitely felt some energy when we were going through some of the ship mazes as well. But the strongest I felt was from Lullaby. No wonder why there's so much activity and the girls are bothered in there, because they're playing up this tragedy that happened. So definitely interesting. Dark Harbor was a great event. The only downside to it was so you can save some money if you park over by the Aquarium Pacific. You do that, they take you on a ferry over to the ship, which was a pretty cool experience, actually. They had monsters on the ferry and all this kind of stuff, so it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. Into the night, though, we go trying to catch the ferry. We left before closing. We thought we had enough time. We lined up. We were the next to get on the next ferry that would have came. The captain of that particular ferry told us that the next one was coming in shortly. All of a sudden, a group of people walks up and they go, sorry, we just found out there's no more ferries. Yeah, we're going to get you guys like a bus or something to get you over. But they didn't organize the line. They didn't, appropriately tell everybody what was going on. It was very disorganized, and that kind of ruined the night at the end of the night. Overall, we had a good time. The event was great. We enjoyed ourselves. All the real paranormal stories I heard from my friends that worked there were cool. Just the end of the night was a little bit of a letdown. But overall, enjoyed Dark Harbor. Thought it was really cool. If you get a chance to check it out, I think it's fun. Definitely go check it out. Just be aware if you leave kind of late, you might not be able to catch the ferry. So maybe leave a little earlier so you could do that, so you won't end up like us, just upset late at night. But overall, good experience. Cool paranormal stories. So, yeah. Just go check out the Queen Mary in general if you're interested in the paranormal. There's definitely enough history there to keep you occupied. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the story. Maybe one day we'll actually get to investigate the Queen Mary. Who knows? Have a good one.